When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you. Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your moderator, Omar Dunlap, and today we're discussing a very important topic, the topic of tawakkul, relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the negative effects of not relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have with us today Dr. Mamdouh Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. And we have, of course, our studio audience, as always. Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Mamdouh, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you and give your time for your 10-minute reflection.
Thank you. The concept of reliance, it's integral part of the belief of the Muslims. And this has to be connected with La ilaha illallah. There is no God except Almighty Allah. It's part of believing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most capable and the Almighty, and He's the only one who nourishes the human beings, that Razzaq, right? So part of it is relying upon Him, because if you rely upon anyone else, that means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His abilities and His attributes and His qualities do not provide you with this. It's indirect attack to Almighty Allah. It's not clear attack, but it's obvious that the person would say to Almighty Allah, I'm not going to depend on you simply because Allah is not perfect. This is the hidden message when we rely upon something else than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, the Islamic way of relying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is represented in this statement, aqilha wa tawakkal. Aqilha wa tawakkal is this: tie up your camel in the right place and then rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here, when you see this statement say that do your part and rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't rely upon Allah and sit at home and say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give me sustenance. And even if you call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as it happened at the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he found a person sitting in the mosque and he spent long time asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him sustenance, Allahumma rzuqni, Allahumma rzuqni, Allahumma rzuqni. This famous story is very significant. Umar ibn Khattab came and hit him and disciplined him. He said that if you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you sustenance, if you really want to rely upon Allah, go and do your work. And this is very beautifully and clearly explained in the famous hadith of tawakkul that says that if you really depend upon Allah, if you really rely upon Allah, you will be like the birds. They go out from their homes, from their nests in the morning with empty stomachs, and they come back in the evening with full stomach. And here the hadith is significant that you do your job as the birds. They go out from their homes, from their nest. They leave the nest and they start searching for the food here and there and this area, and look for water and look for food. And by the end of the day, definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the sustenance because they did their part. Then they rely upon Allah. Even the birds rely upon Allah. And this is a lesson. Unfortunately, lots of us listen to it, but in application, we don't trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unfortunately, some of the Muslims, they do that. They say it by tongue because it's easier to say it by tongue. I trust Allah. I rely upon Allah. But in reality, you ask him, oh, you have 1 or 2 children. Why don't you get more? He said that it's the poverty that I'm living in. I don't have enough money. You said that you rely upon Allah. And it is Allah who taught you that this issue is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just rely upon Him. And the verses of the Quran tell you that even if you are poor, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you sustenance and will give your coming baby sustenance. And if you are afraid to be poor, من خشية إملاق, the verse says that even if you are afraid that you may be poor after you get extra children, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give sustenance to your children and will give sustenance to you. Okay, now if you trust Allah and you rely upon Him, but in reality you don't do the things that show, that prove that you rely upon Allah. You rely upon Allah by your tongue only, which is, of course, this is not the essence of reliance. The essence of reliance is that whenever you do something, right, it's a reflection, it's a proof, it's an evidence of what you say by your tongue. As we know that the definition of Iman is ما وقر في القلب وصدقه العمل. So the acts should go with what you have in your heart or what you have on your tongue. So the tongue saying, the heart should be deeply affected by that, and the actions should prove that what you believe in and what you say by your tongue is actual reliance. A lot of people, unfortunately, they believe others than Allah. They believe a scholar or someone or an educated person or a media person or a spokesman or someone who would say that, okay, let's do it that way because, and he will give you 20, 30, 40 lessons and benefits. Of course, this is not true, because it's either you trust him or you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's an issue, this issue is related basically to the issue of Tawheed. Lots of us don't focus on the concept of Tawheed or the concept of Aqidah. We don't give it its due rights. We need to focus on this. And all of us, unfortunately, again, you'll find talk about the Prophet ﷺ spent 13 years in Mecca teaching the companions Aqidah and the Creed and the Tawheed. But in reality, we don't do it with our kids. Yes, the lesson that we benefit from this is that we should spend with ourselves, with our children, with our family members, with the people whom we have contacts, with the children at school. Whenever we have contacts with others, we need to live some time, spend some time on explaining these essential things. Once you have them well established, it becomes very difficult to shake them or any other force to shake them. But if the foundation is shakeable, it will be shakeable. You cannot get this foundation to be established well unless you spend the right time to plant these concepts in the brain of the Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ did it, and in the previous episode we talked about that emulating the Prophet ﷺ and following the Prophet ﷺ, so we should do the same thing. Now, what is happening nowadays, you would find that children or young people or people in general, they take some input from the Quran or from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but they take plenty of inputs from other sources. What happens is that this foundation is not established or founded well. And the scholars say that it's very simple to understand this. If you have a glass of water and you want to pour from it, it will pour water. If you have a glass of juice, when you pour from it, you will pour juice. If you have a glass of wine and you want to pour from it, you will pour wine because it is full of that substance. This is the same thing applies to our brains. We are the product of our brains. What is the input telling us? If the input that we have is dominated by the Quran and the Sunnah, it means we have more input from the Quran and the Sunnah in addition to other inputs. Whenever we act or react, we react according to the Quran and the Sunnah. Very simple form. If the input is to us is Michael Jordan, our output will be what? Basketball playing. If it is Michael Jackson, it will be singing and dancing. Right? If it is the Quran and Sunnah, we will be behaving like the Prophet ﷺ. Very simple logic, every human being knows. And now when we are bringing up our children, we expose them to lots of inputs. The result is when they behave, sometimes they behave Islamically, and 20 times they behave un-Islamically because of the input that they got. We expose our kids to the video games, we expose our kids to the TVs. Not everything there is good, of course. We expose them to lots of inputs that may sound to them or look to them very attractive. We are the ones who cause fitna to them.
Well, we're going to take a quick break,
Please
Dr.
do.
Mamdouh, and we'll be right back, so don't go anywhere. You're watching Let's Talk. Bismillah, welcome back to Let's Talk. Today we're discussing the topic of tawakkul, relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to take a look now at some questions that we've asked our fellow Muslims. We asked them, what are some causes of stress in the life of Muslims today? So we're going to take a look at their answers and see what they had to say, inshallah.
In my opinion, the causes of stress in Muslim life is because they did not live in the Islamic way, not according to the Quran and Sunnah. So if they live in the living of the Prophet Muhammad, I think they will not be stressed at all. Because our Quran and Sunnah tell us to do what to do and to do not what to not to do, okay?
I think the major cause of stress in Muslims' lives today is because Muslims have neglected the way of life preferred by Islam. Islam is a comprehensive religion that, that contributes to various aspects of life. So it has laid down the proper way by which a Muslim can live a proper life. So Muslims have neglected this way of life that Islam has perfected. So that is why they experience stress in their life.
Well, I think the causes of stress, people are not determining the priority of the things that they should do, what's first and what's second. This could be a reason. Another reason, people care about work and getting money. I think this is all what they care about. That's why they work harder, and they don't care about anything else but working. And I think the more they work, the more they find themselves need to work again. So everything these days is going towards getting money. So I think this is the major reason for this, I think.
Okay, well that was very interesting. I particularly like the answer of the last person who was asked a question. Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I think this is something common answer from an average person. When he or she would say that we need money, the question is, do you really need more money? Why more? And what is the extent that after this I will not going to get more money? Nobody has this answer. There's no limit for our ambitions and for our eagerness. A human being should know that there is no end for that. And as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said that had a human being had valley full of gold, he would ask for another one. He would wish for another one. Why are we so much indulged in this dunya? I'm working hard day and night. The money I get and the way I use it is just to change my four-wheel car into a better car. It's already a four-wheel car. What else do you want? And the people just, the satisfaction is not there. Why do you want more money? Just to change, you have 2 suits, you want to make them 10. And when you get them 10, you said, no, I need more. I want them to be 20. And when you get there, you need them to be 50. It does not end. It does not end. If you leave yourself to go with the flow, as they say, right? If you go with the flow, this would be the end. You have to go with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you. Yes, it may be difficult in the beginning, but this is not reality. The difference between a rich person and a poor person, both of them eat. But one of them eats different types of food. And even if you find that the banquet that he has may have 30 types of dishes in front of him or her, but he's not pleased. The following day, right, he wants something different. A poor person who is pleased with what he had, he thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's happy even to live on the same dish for a month, for 2, for 3 months. What is different? Alhamdulillah, I'm eating. I mean, yes, some people are doing other things and getting better situations, but it's impossible that all human beings would be on the same level. It's next to impossible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this life and made it like this. If you understand this, so you would be very pleased in your heart. You depend upon Allah, you rely upon Allah, you do your work, but don't kill yourself in your work. You have other important things to do. You were created mainly to worship Almighty Allah, not to make money for the sake of making money. You make money for the sake of pleasing Allah, using it in the proper way. Right. I think people, when they know these things, alhamdulillah, they become very comfortable. And this is the difference between a Muslim who is comfortable and relaxed and who would all the time say, why should I worry?
Now, one of the things they said is that a cause of stress is not living in the Islamic way. So what is it in Islam that gives people contentment?
Yes, as I said, that when you begin with La ilaha illallah and you know all the attributes of this God, and you know that whatever you do in this life, you cannot exceed the amount of sustenance or rizq that He's going to give you. It's distributed throughout your life, but no matter what you do, you are not going to get more than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has assigned for you. And you know that it will never happen that there would be a mistake that what is going to come to you would go to another person. If you trust these things, so you feel comfortable. What you take is the best that you can do. You have to do and work hard, but I said that within the limits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It should not be at the expense of other essential things. And in this way you feel comfortable. My friend already got a Mercedes, let him buy a Mercedes. I am very pleased with my Hyundai. This is not an advertisement for Hyundai, by the way. So I am very pleased with it. I can live with it until I die. I have no problem with it. I just love it. What's the difference between the two of them? Stronger air condition. You run quickly and you will be violating the traffic law. I don't know what is the difference. Just little more comfort. But the two of them are doing the one things. They take you from point A to point B. That's basically, if you see that, oh, why would I do that? Why would I spend more time looking for some work or doing some work? And that work I can do much better than this if I save this time and use it in the proper way. I use it in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I help other people. I sit with my family members to educate them. I can do much better things than just getting money. And not that. I am doing this because I know how to do a good investment. I'm investing my time and my money with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I know that how I can get millions and millions and millions of hasanat when I invest with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. When I invest with any bank, I know that I get 5% maximum, or with this economic crisis you get much lower than this, even you lose your money. So I know my job well because I have learned how to worship Allah. I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quite good. Nobody can shake my belief in Him. And I wish that every viewer would benefit from this.
Oh, very good. Well, we have a question from our audience now. Go ahead, brother.
Out of our problems, and as life has captured us with its evidence, fascinating things, really our reliance on Allah has become decreased. We are suffering from this. We want to increase our reliance on Allah. But how?
Thank you for this question. I think it's very simple for me at least. The way you do it is that you go through a test. You pass the test. So you should become stronger than before. You go to another test. So you become stronger and you rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more and more. When we go through the Quran, we find the stories of the previous nations and the stories of the previous messengers and prophets of Almighty Allah, and we learn from them. And this is one of the wisdoms why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned these stories to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to firm the belief in his heart. So by knowing, by listening to a story, getting the lesson from it, so you would trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every human being knows that, or almost the adults at least, they know that fire burns. We trust this fact, right? It's not necessary for me to put my finger in fire, right, in order to know that it does this. But the same token, and even much more stronger than this, more confidence in Allah, I rely upon Allah because I know Him. When I read the story of Hajar, the wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when I know that he was commanded by Almighty Allah to leave her in the desert with her newborn child, Ismail, she was left alone with a new baby, right? The situation was very critical, was very difficult. And the way she looked at it is the way an average Muslim should look at it. The only legitimate question that she asked Ibrahim alayhi salam, she asked him, did Allah command you to do that? He said, yes. Her answer was the most beautiful answer. And we need to learn the answer and we need to apply it. I trust Allah. He will never fail us. He will definitely help us. And so 100% trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the desert, no human being, no technology, no airplanes. Apparently, it's quite obvious that nobody can save her. Her husband is leaving. She is left with the beasts. She is left with no humans. She is left with no water. And she trusted Allah that He's going to do all that. This is the level of trust that we need to reach. He did it to Hajar. He did it to Ismail. He did it to Ibrahim. He did it to Muhammad. He does it for everyone. Just trust Him. If you've gone through an experience, it worked very well. Oh, this is your Lord. That's why we worship Him. We don't worship anyone else because we trust Him. We know that He's capable. When we say that Allah is Al-Qawi, we know that He's capable of doing this. Otherwise, what does it mean to us? So this is the trust, right? So by developing this relationship with Almighty Allah, we rely more and more and more upon Him. And we have to understand that this is the nature of the life that we live in. It's full of series of tests and tribulations and trials. We know that. It's part of our life. So if we know that, these things, we take them easier than other people, alhamdulillah. And this is the meaning of we are Muslim. We submit our desires, our brains, our intentions to Almighty Allah. We sign the contract, and every day we sign it again and again and again in our prayer when we witness that there is no God but Almighty Allah. Every day we renew the contract with Almighty Allah. So we're quite sure of what we're doing. We are conscious of what we're doing. Alhamdulillah, we are relying upon Him.
Very good. Well, unfortunately, we have to end the show, so we'll see you next time, inshallah ta'ala, here on Let's Talk. Until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When things go